guys, I'm here to do a read aloud of insignificant events in the life of a cactus. But first, I know, sorry Fern, many of you have been missing Fern and wondering about how she's doing. So I thought it would be a fun read aloud for me to read to her. She's currently sleeping or trying to, and so she may not be very exciting, but who knows, maybe she'll wake up in the middle of the read aloud and do something funny, and then you guys can check it out. All right, we left off on chapter 15, so we're starting there. Chapter 15. Hey, I said, walking up to Connor a couple of days later at his locker. He turned around to face me. Hey, how's spaghetti? Better. I had spent as much time with him as I could, trying to motivate him to get well and eat his hay, even offering it to him with my feet. I also made sure that he ate his llama ration. My efforts seemed to be working. That's good, Connor said. Do you know why he is named Spaghetti? Seems like a pretty weird name for a llama. Dennis told me he's named after spaghetti westerns. Oh, Connor said. What are those? I shrugged. No idea. Maybe movies full of cowboys eating lots of spaghetti. Connor nodded. Weird. I saw Zion walking down the sidewalk toward us. Hey, Zion, I called to him. He was concentrating so hard on watching his feet he didn't hear me. Zion, I called. He looked up, seemingly surprised again that someone was talking to him. I can't exactly wave to get someone's attention, so I jumped up and down a little bit. Zion, I said again. As I bounced, he finally saw me. He stopped in front of me and Connor. Hi, Avon, he said softly. This is Connor, I told him, and the two boys gave each other a little mini wave. You're in my history class, Zion told Connor. I've heard you in there. Connor barked and shrugged his shoulders. You and everyone else. Connor has Tourette's syndrome, I explained to Zion. He can't help it. Oh, I didn't think he could. Zion looked down at his sneakers, then back up at Connor. I'm sorry. Connor shrugged again. It's okay. Anyway, I said, I was just about to ask Connor if he wanted to come over after school and do some investigating. I eyed Zion seriously. I live at the theme park called Stagecoach Pass. Yeah, I know that place, said Zion. Oh, good, I said. We're trying to figure out why no one has ever seized the owner. We think he might have been, I looked around and whispered, murdered. Zion took a step back. That sounds scary. Connor barked. Trust me, there's nothing scary about that place. I don't know about that, I said. This morning, when I left the apartment, I found a dead lizard right at the bottom of the stairs. I sighed and nodded. Yep, I think someone was trying to send me a message. What kind of message? Zion asked. Stop butting your nose in where it doesn't belong or I'll send you some dead lizards, I said. Obviously. Connor shook his head. I don't know. Stuff dies in the desert all the time. That's kind of what the desert does. It kills stuff. Well, you guys should come over. I'll show you the dead lizard and we can search the storage shed more. Connor slammed his locker shut. I can't. My mom needs me to wait at home for the maintenance guy. For some reason, our hot water won't work. Oh, that stinks, I said. I can't either, said Zion, and I'm not sure I want to get involved with murders and dead lizards and stuff. I don't know if my parents would like it. It's only one murder and one dead lizard. I rolled my eyes and tapped my foot. How about tomorrow? It's Saturday. Yeah, Connor said. I can come over early. We both looked at Zion. Okay, he said. But if anyone sends you any more dead animals, I'm out. Great, I said. I can wait for tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow. As Connor, Zion, and I walked together down the sidewalk, I heard someone do that coughing thing when they sneak a word into the cough, but were actually not being very sneaky about it, and the word was freaks. Chapter 16. The next morning, I wrote a new blog post. I'm not sure most people who see me feel sorry for me at first. I think their first thought is probably something about how terrible it must be not to have arms. Maybe they imagine me helplessly being carried around by my mom everywhere in a giant baby backpack, and my poor parents having to brush my teeth and feed me through a tube and change my diapers and whatever. What a lot of people don't realize is that there are a lot of fantastic things about not having arms. Seriously, I can think of 20 right now. 1. No fist fighting. This is really positive for other people because I would totally win in any fist fight. No, really, it would be a smackdown. 2. No rough elbows. My mom has eczema, and so I know what a curse rough elbows can be. 3. No need to clean my fingernails. You can add filing, polishing, and trimming to that as well. 4. No leaving fingerprints behind at a crime scene. Very helpful if I ever rob a bank. Number 5. No getting caught picking my nose. My shoes are usually in the way. 6. No arm wrestling. 7. No golf. Well, I suppose I could figure out a way to play golf, but I'm so not gonna because golf is boring. 8. No cheesy high fives. 9. No making that silly okay circle shape with my fingers. 10. Fewer areas to put sunscreen on and fewer areas to sunburn. This is a good thing for me because I have super fair skin. 11. I don't have to worry about accidentally using my hands in soccer. I guess that gives me an advantage. 12. No fighting over the armrest at the movies. Really, no fighting over the armrest anywhere. 13. No armpits. How can there be pits when there are no arms? They're more like flats. 14. I'll get the royal treatment when I start driving in a few years. That's right, it's princess parking for this girl everywhere I go. And yes, I will be driving an actual car. Watch out roads. 15. Less money spent on jewelry, rings, bracelets, watches, etc. 16. No flabby flapjack arms when I get old. My great-grandma has those. Hopefully she's not reading this. 17. No push-ups. 18. I never get that floppy numb arm thing at night from sleeping on my arms. My dad gets that just about every night. 19. No one's ever challenged me to a thumb war, which is good because I don't like war. 20. Pranks that work. One day I'll pull a fantastic prank, like pretending my arms got torn off in an elevator door or something. I look forward to that day. I stared at the screen. Who exactly was I trying to convince? The person who had called me a freak yesterday, or myself? I hit publish and browsed through some of the previous posts. I noticed that Emily had commented on a lot of them, mostly short remarks like LOL or miss you girl. Someone else had commented that I was in their art class at school, though they didn't say who they were. A couple of other people wrote that I had made them laugh. That was nice. I was responding to one of Emily's comments when I heard a knock at the door. I let Connor in and we played video games while we waited for Zion to show. When we heard another knock, I jumped and opened the door. Zion stood there, looking all shy as usual with his mom. She had the biggest smile I had ever seen. I just wanted to meet these new friends of Zion's, she said. She looked like she might explode from happiness. I guessed from her expression that she didn't meet a lot of his friends. I remembered what Zion had said about his parents being huge geeks as I took her Wolverine tank top and purple skirt. I thought she looked pretty cool. Hi, I resisted the urge to stare at my own feet like Zion. I'm Avon. I turned and looked at Connor. That's Connor. Connor barked as he continued playing the game, totally ignoring us. I'm Zion's mom, she said. She wore a sparkly purple headband and a curly black hair. I wanted one of those sparkly purple headbands and the matching purple skirt. She looked at me with eyes that were the same exact deep brown as Zion's. What game are you guys playing? She asked. Oh, just Mario Kart, I said. She glanced from Connor to me and back again, and for one terrifying moment I thought she was going to ask if she could play with us. Instead, she looked down at Zion. Well, have fun playing with your new friends, sweetie pie, she said, and kissed him on the top of his head. Zion groaned a little. You can go now, Mom, he said, but not really in a mean way. She turned that beaming smile back on me. I'll be back in a few hours if that's okay. Okay, I said. When I shut the door, Zion sighed and said, I thought she would never leave, even though she had only been standing there for about 1 minute. Hey, Where did your mom get her headband? I asked Zion. He looked at me like I was crazy. I don't know. We played a couple more races, and then I led the two guys to the storage shed. Connor rummaged through the junk while Zion and I tried to read some old documents we found stacked in a giant heap in one corner. Periodically, Connor would hold something up for us, like an old boot or a handkerchief, and say, "Check this out," like whatever he was holding was interesting, when in fact, it was not. Connor also found an entire box of books about tarantulas. "Cool," I said, dipping my toes into the box and sifting through the books. "Maybe you guys can carry this up to the apartment for me." While I browsed through one of the tarantula books, Zion continued moving the stacks of document and boxes until he uncovered a large wooden desk buried beneath all of the stuff. Connor and I examined the desk with him. It had a row of drawers going down one side, but those were locked. "Where do you think the key is?" Zion asked me. I shrugged. "This desk is probably like 50 years old. It could be anywhere. You know how to pry it open?" Zion shook his head. "It's so dusty in here," he coughed, and my mom's going to be back soon." I sighed. "Yeah, I guess we can give up for today." "Wait, look," Connor said. He reached under the desk and pulled out an old guitar. It was pretty beaten up from neglect, and the strings were missing on the back of it. In very small letters, someone had carved the initials A, B, C. "What do you think they stand for?" Connor asked. "The alphabet?" "No." I ran a toe over the carved letters. Something, Kavanaugh. Chapter 17. Sorry, Fern. So, I know you don't go to therapy anymore and all of that, but my mom and I were browsing online, and we found out that there's this, social event for kids with Tourette's over at the hospital," I said, walking next to Connor on our way to class the following week. Connor stopped and turned to face me. "You mean a support group?" "Well, sort of," I said. "I don't need a support group. I'm fine. I just thought it would be cool to meet some of the other kids who have the same thing as, maybe even make some new friends." Actually, it had mostly been my mom's idea. She thought it would be best if I brought it up so that Connor would be more open to it. Mom raised an eyebrow at me. "I don't know. It would be just as much for me as you," I said. "It turns out I like kids who have Tourette's, and I don't have all that many friends. So I'd like to go and see about making some new friends in a place where I'm not the only kid who's sort of different." Connor continued giving me his skeptical look. "Really?" "Well, I looked up support groups for kids with no arms, and guess what? There are none. At least, not that I could find. I guess Tourette's is a lot more common." 1%, Connor said as he turned and continued walking toward class. "What?" 1% of people have Tourette's." "See," I blurted. "I bet a lot of kids with Tourette's go to this social event." "Support group. Whatever, it might be fine. Please, will you go with me? Please," I begged. "Are you saying you'd go without me?" he asked. "Why not?" Because you don't have Tourette's." "Well, I could just meow from time to time. No one would know." Connor gave me a playful shove. "Fine, I'll go with you." He rolled his eyes. "And you won't have to meow." Mom walked us into the hospital just after 7:30. A receptionist directed us down a corridor and into a small meeting room. Mom promised to pick us up in the front of the hospital at 9 o'clock sharp, and she left us there to brave the meeting alone. As we entered the room, we were immediately greeted by a boy shouting, "Chicken nipple!" I looked at him in surprise, and he shouted it again, aiming it at no one in particular. I glanced at the other kids in the room, 5 boys and only 1 other girl. "What's with all the boys?" I whispered in Connor's ear. "Tourette's is way more common for boys," Connor barked as we stood there surveying the room. The other kids didn't seem at all fazed by his barking, but they watched me with curiosity. That was okay. A pretty woman walked into the room and introduced herself to us. "I'm Andrea," she said, shaking Connor's hand. "Are you Connor?" Connor nodded, barked and shrugged, blinking his eyes. He was nervous, I could tell. Are you Avon, Connor's friend? Andrea said. It's nice to meet you, I said. Why don't you two find a place to sit and we'll get started? I could see Andrea also had Tourette's by the way she made a funny counting motion with her fingers. But other than that, she seemed to keep it under control. I wonder if she had a milder form of Tourette's or if she had learned how to control it. If so, I wanted to find out how for Connor. The chicken nipple boy moved over a seat so that Connor and I could sit next to each other. He yelled out, "Chicken nipple!" as I sat down next to him. Then he leaned over and whispered to me, "Do you have Tourette's?" I shook my head. No. "Oh, chicken nipple. I do, in case you didn't, chicken nipple, notice." I grinned at him. I wasn't really sure. "I'm Dexter," he said, chicken nipple. "I'm Avon." "Well," Andrea said, sitting down at the circle, "I guess we can get started. Everyone, we have a couple of new friends with us tonight." She turned to us. "Why don't you guys introduce yourself?" Connor was ticking badly, so I spoke. "I'm Avon." "Avon doesn't have Tourette's," Andrea said. "Yeah," I laughed. "Can you imagine what a doozy that would be?" Dexter laughed out loud and shouted, "Chicken nipple!" And the other kids softly laughed a bit. I liked Dexter already. "At least if you had Tourette's," the completely monotone, expressionless girl sitting across from me said, "you wouldn't have to worry about slapping yourself in the face all the time like I do." As though on cue, the girl slapped herself in the face. "Yeah, but you should see what Avon can do with her feet," Connor said, blinking his eyes rapidly. "Face slapping isn't that far-fetched." "I want to, chicken nipple, see what you can do with your feet," Dexter said. "Maybe later if we have time and Avon doesn't mind," Andrea said, smiling. She clearly enjoyed the lighthearted conversation among us kids, and honestly, so did I. Sorry, I lost my place. Andrea turned her attention to Connor. "Introduce yourself, Connor." "I'm Connor. I do have Tourette's, as if you couldn't tell," he barked. "Well, welcome, you two," Andrea said. "We're so happy to have you. Why don't we all go around and introduce ourselves? We'll start with you, Dexter." "Chicken nipple, I'm Dexter. As you can see, I love to say chicken nipple. Chicken nipple." Connor gaped at Dexter. "I have to know, why chicken nipple? Why not another word?" "Dexter has a rarer form of Tourette's called coprolalia," Andrea explained. "He says words and phrases, some of which people might find inappropriate, but he can't help it." Connor turned his attention back to Dexter. "Yeah, but why chicken nipple?" Dexter laughed. "Sometimes I say other chicken nipple things. I'm glad when it's chicken nipple, chicken nipple. Sometimes I say barbecue, or pirate ship, or I love bubble baths, and some chicken nipple, other things. Sometimes I say my own name, which is really embarrassing for some reason. One time I went through a short period, chicken nipple, when I said, 'I'll punch a baby,' every time I saw a baby. That was awful, chicken nipple. People would run away from me with their chicken nipple babies." Dexter looked at me with a straight face. "I swear, chicken nipple, I would never punch a baby. I like babies." "I believe you," I said, trying to maintain a straight face myself. Just then, Dexter cried out, "Barbecue chicken sandwiches!" And everyone laughed, especially Dexter. I normally would never in a million years laugh at someone's disability, but I realized that we were all laughing with Dexter, certainly not at him. And it was okay. I think it made everyone feel better in a way. Josh introduced himself next. Josh made the same whooping sound all the time and had what Andrea explained were several motor tics. This included bending over a lot and sort of like playing air guitar. Other than that, Josh was quiet. The girl introduced herself as Rebecca. I had already knew that Rebecca slapped herself in the face. She even wore little padded gloves to help soften the blows. I had never realized that Tourette's could be painful. even damaging to the person who had it. Rebecca also grunted and coughed a lot, even though she didn't have a cold or anything. Jack rolled his eyes constantly and shook his head. He also made a strange yelling sound like nothing I had ever heard, like he sucked in air so fast that it made a shrieking sound. Zachary rolled his shoulders so much he feared he would need surgery on his already worn-down 15-year-old joints. Mason made constant farting noises with his mouth and pulled on his hair, which made his hair patchy because he pulled on it so much that some of it would come out. Mason had over 50 tics, he told us. I couldn't imagine having to deal with that many uncontrollable things going on in my body. Besides Dexter, Mason's tics were probably the most embarrassing of the group. He hardly ever went out in public like Connor. Andrea guided us into a discussion on how we felt about going out in public, more specifically going places like the movies, library, etc. Connor wasn't alone in not liking to go to the movies. No one ever really went. Rebecca was the only one who felt okay going to most places because her vocal tics weren't as loud as the others and could almost sound like normal at times if you assume she had a bad cough or something. People still get annoyed by her frequently, though. As cool as Dexter was, he was terrified of going out in public. I guess he said, "I'll punch a baby," in front of some dad holding a baby in the drugstore one day, and the dad nearly attacked him. Had Dexter's mom not intervened, it could have been bad. Once again, I thought if he had been wearing a t-shirt explaining that he had Tourette's, maybe the situation could have been avoided. Dexter also had obsessive-compulsive disorder, which Andrea explained often accompanied Tourette's. It was hard for him to leave the house because he worried so much that the stove and the oven were on at home. He even asked if he could call his mom a couple of times during the meeting so that he could have her check them. Andrea let him. It sounded as though most parents were supportive and understanding of their Tourette's. Well, everyone except Connor's parents. Some of their extended family members, such as aunts, uncles, and grandparents, often accuse them of faking it for attention, like Connor's dad had done. I thought it would be exhausting to put on such an act all the time. I couldn't fathom why anyone would want to do such a thing or how anyone could think that they were doing it. It was strange listening to everyone speak among a cacophony of barking, farting, whooping, shrieking, and chicken nipples. It was also strangely comforting. No one cared about my lack of arms. They were all far too caught up in their own struggles. And I, for once, felt completely normal among this group of misfits. I hoped Connor felt the same way and would come back with me again. "So, how was the meeting?" Mom asked as she drove us home. "It was great." I looked at Connor for confirmation. "Yeah," Connor said. "It was good." He looked out the window. "That's great. What did you guys talk about?" "All kinds of stuff," I said, like what everyone's tics were and how they felt about going out in public and things like that. I could see Mom watching Connor in the rearview mirror. "Do you think it was helpful, Connor?" He said absent-mindedly. "I asked if you thought it was helpful," Mom said again. Connor shrugged. "I guess. Yeah, it was nice to meet other kids like me. What?" I asked when Connor trailed off. "I'm worried I'll start swearing like Dexter." "I don't really think of chicken nipple as a swear word," I said. "You know what I mean. You heard Andrea. That's pretty rare." "Yeah, but Dexter started out like me too, making strange noises and movements, and then one day he said chicken nipple and everything changed. I guess I'm afraid the same thing will happen to me." I couldn't see Connor's face as he gazed out the window. Things are hard enough the way they are. I can't imagine how hard it would be if I started saying obnoxious things all the time. I think I'd rather have brain surgery at that point. "You shouldn't worry about it," I said. "I think the more you worry about it and stress yourself out, the worse your tics are going to be. And maybe if you start saying words, it will just be normal stuff like, 'I love African safaris,' or something like that." Connor chuckled. "That's normal." "Yeah, for someone who loves African safaris. I don't think you should think about it too much." "When's the next meeting?" Mom asked, obviously trying to change the subject. "Next month," I said. They meet once a month. We'll go back because we're going to talk about relaxation and how it can help when we're out in public. You mean when we're out in public? Connor said. You don't have to worry about that stuff, Avon. Maybe not that kind of stuff. I may not have tics, but I still have to deal with people staring at me and treating me like I'm different. Yeah, but you don't call attention to yourself. I think I'd give up my arms to get rid of my Tourette's. Don't say that, I said. I like you just the way you are. Really? Connor gave me a skeptical look. Yep, tics and all. Alright, that's the end of chapter 17. I'm going to stop right there. I hope you guys enjoyed the chapters and watching Fern. And I will see you next time for chapter 18. Bye-bye.